Muli mabuting araw mga ka-eskwela. We're happy to see you for our fourth episode. And I was tasked to be here this morning to discuss with you the contributions of the self-employed and voluntary members and the generation of the payment reference number. So hindi na natin patatagalin pa. For the first slide, no, as to the flow of our presentation, there, no, as the outline of presentation, first, we will be talking about the definition. What is Social Security? Followed by the coverage. What are the two types of coverage in SSS? And then, magkano po ba ang ating contribution, ang dapat nating maging contribution? And what are the rules? May rules po ba as to the changing of the monthly salary credit? And how do we generate the payment reference number? We all know that today, kailangan na po ang payment reference number every time we make or pay our contributions. And lastly, but definitely not the least, we will be talking about when and where should you pay your contributions. Ito na yung mga iba't ibang mga payment channels natin in SSS. So for the first slide, it is best that we first define what Social Security is. So sa mga naka-attend na ng mga webinar sessions namin all throughout the years, this is our first fundamental slide because it is best that we all know what is Social Security, the very basic or essence of our existence. So it is the protection that society gives its members against economic and social distresses caused by the following contingencies. Kapag tayo ay may sakit, we have the sickness benefit. Kapag ang mga kababaihan naman following the expanded maternity leave law ay magdalang tao or makunan, we have our maternity benefit. Kapag tayo naman ay nawala ng trabaho due to involuntary causes such as retrenchment, redundancy, and the like, we have our unemployment benefit. At kapag tayo naman, let's say, ay nagka-aksidente at makamit ng disability, so we have the disability benefit. And during the times na tayo ay wala na ng kakayahan magtrabaho due to our age, either 60 years old, optional retirement age, or 65 years old, compulsory retirement age, we have this retirement benefit in SSS. And for the last two benefits, literally also, we have the death and funeral benefits. So as you can see, participants, the benefits that we offer to you, our members, are from womb to tomb. Simula nang tayo ay ipanganak, hanggang tayo ay kuhanin na ni Lord. Kaya sabi po, kay SSS ay may forever. So sana ay pinaniniwalaan nyo rin yan. Tulad namin, kaagapay o kabalikat niyo po kami sa iba't ibang yugto ng inyong buhay. So in SSS, there are two types of coverages, no? First, compulsory coverage, and the second one is a voluntary type of coverage. Under the compulsory, we have those employed in the private sector, the self-employed persons, household helpers, and the OFWs, sea-based or land-based. Meanwhile, for the voluntary, we have the separated members and the non-working spouse. But for today's episode, particularly my module or topic, we will be focusing our attention on this particular types of coverage, the self-employed persons and OFWs, and the separated members under the voluntary category, as well as the non-working spouse. And just for the information of everybody, mga ka-eskwela, based on our press release also, which you have seen for sure online, so the number of self-employed and voluntary members of the Social Security system as of May 2021 has increased by 20.2% to 8.43 million. So ganoon na po kadami yung covered under the self-employed and voluntary members of the SSS. Kaya very important na nandito po kayo ngayong umaga na ito because we know that like us also, we keep learning each day and we hope that you can help us spread the word. Ika nga sa inyong mga kapamilya o mga kasama sa trabaho at mga kaibigan na rin. Okay, so let us first define first, ano ba yung mga self-employed members? Baka yung isa sa mga attendees natin, ako ba ay self-employed ma'am or voluntary? So for the definition of the self-employed members, this shall include but not limited to the following. All self-employed professionals, so mga doctors and the like, partners and single proprietors of businesses, actors, kung may mga artista tayo on board, no? And actresses, directors, scriptwriters, and news correspondents, mga news anchors natin, who do not fall within the definition of the term employee in Section 8, letter D of the SS law. All right. Then professional athletes, coaches, considered din po, as well as trainers and jockeys, and individual farmers. Kasama rin po dito ang individual farmers natin and fishermen. Okay? So yung mga nasa fisher folk, mga magsasaka, mangingisda, kasama po dyan. As well as our workers in the informal sector, such as market, and ambulant vendors as well as transport workers. So dito, no, i-share lang natin ang patungkol sa ating mga farmers and fishermen. So meron tayong kailangang abangan, rather, something to look forward to dahil meron pong paparating na programa ang SSS, particular sa ating mga magsasaka at mangingisda. So please stand by for more details. But no, this is something to look forward to because meron tayong gustong paraan na nais natin matulungan ang mga workers natin in the informal sector, particularly na ang mga magsasaka at mangingisda para ma-ensure po na at the end of the day ay masasecure ang kanilang mga benepisyo, lalo na pag dumating ang panahon na sila ay mag-retire na po. So please stand by for more details. Yan isa sa mga programa ng SSS na nasa pipeline na and coming soon. So as to the OFWs, it's we define it no as a Filipino recruited by a foreign-based employer for employment abroad who has a source of income. Alam ko lahat tayo may mga kamag-anak na isa o dalawa na OFW. So has a source of income in a foreign country or a permanent resident of a foreign country. And ang coverage po in the SSS shall be considered compulsory upon all sea-based and land-based OFWs, provided that they are not yet over 60 years of age if initial coverage, because our membership in SSS, no, maaari kayo magpa-member kay SSS hanggang 60th birthday. Kaya not over 60 years of age ang nakalagay dito because that's the rule, no? Up to the 60th birthday ang maaaring pagbigyan, no, na mag-register o maging member ni SSS. So if the SSS has a bilateral labor agreement, considered din dito, with the worker's host country, they shall be considered as covered employees with employer-employee shares and contributions. So if there's an employee-employer relationship. Otherwise, kung hindi ganun ang treatment, no, the member may pay as a self-employed member of SSS as their coverage is still compulsory. So ngayon, tutungo naman tayo from the self-employed category to the voluntary type of coverage. So ano naman ito? This is non-mandatory. It's a non-mandatory registration and payment of social contributions shall be made by the following types of members. Non-working spouse, isa-isahin natin mamaya. Former OFWs, dating OFW, ngayon hindi na. So, but they opted, no? They want to continue their contributions, so they may be considered as a voluntary member. Or those who are formerly considered as self-employed members, or former employed members, but they opted, no? They wanted to continue paying their SS contributions, they can do that as a voluntary member. So, for more definition, what is the coverage, no, or who are covered as voluntary members? So they are subjected to the following conditions. A member who is 60 years old and above, but not yet 65 years old, with 120 contributions or more, may continue paying as a voluntary member until he or she reaches 65 years old to avail of full benefits. And second, a member who is 65 years old and above with less than 120 contributions may still continue paying their contributions as a voluntary member until he or she completes the required 120 contributions to be eligible for retirement pension. So sa end po ni SSS, we also want our members na ma-target po ang retirement monthly pension Para po kasi 'no, sa monthly pension at the end of the day maliit man 'yan o malaki, that's forever. Hangga't kayo po ay nabubuhay, ay may aasahan kayong monthly pension mula kay SSS. So ang ating minimum requirement to avail of the monthly pension under the retirement benefit ay at least 120. Kaya po ito yung nasa slide natin na papayagan natin ang ating mga members na mag-continue magbayad ng kanilang contribution para ma-reach po yung 120 no dito sa 65 years old and above, because on our end nga maganda po, we want you also to maximize no at makuha yung monthly pension at the end of the day. So as to the non-working spouse, sino naman po ito? Spouses who devote full time to managing the household and family affairs may be covered by the SSS on a voluntary basis. So sila ang mga legally married to a currently employed or self-employed SSS member. So sila po ang considered na non-working spouse. And kindly take note, their contribution is 50% of the working spouse's last posted monthly salary credit, but it should not be lower than 2,000 pesos. So, ngayon po, no? Dati, kung maalala nyo po, 12% ang ating contribution. But, as of 2021, ay nag-increase po tayo by 1% only na 13%, okay? Wherein sa ating mga employed members, they have this employer-employee sharing na out of the 13%, 8.5% ay shouldered by the company and 4.5% ang kinakaltas sa payslip ng mga empleyado. Okay? So yan sa mga employed members natin na baka nandito rin po sa webinar na just so you know. But specifically for our topic on the self-employed and voluntary members, since they do not have an employer, okay, wala silang employer kasi self-employed, sila mismo yung boss sa sarili nilang business. Or sila, yung kanina, no, sa isa natin, those working in the informal sector, they're also considered as self-employed. And voluntary members such as the non-working spouse, since they do not have an employer, they get to shoulder the entire 13%. So every time they pay their contributions, it's the whole or entire 13%. Presently, the minimum monthly salary credit is 3,000 pesos, and ang katumbas po nun or the corresponding minimum amount of contribution ay 390 peso. Meanwhile, the maximum monthly salary credit ay 25,000 pesos and the maximum amount of contribution ay 3,250 pesos. But kindly take note, for the land-based OFWs, the minimum monthly salary credit is still at 8,000 with a corresponding minimum contribution of 1,040 pesos. So, ito po, napapakita lang natin ang contribution schedule as of 2021. Baka po sa screens niyo, kung gamit niyo ay cellphone, baka maliit itong picture natin. Pero kung desktop or laptop, I think you can view it more. But rest assured, this is present in our website. And you can see this online, no? Sa mga online platforms natin, we have made this contribution schedule available. Just to serve as a guide natin, no? So you can see, for instance, I'm a voluntary member, no? This one is for the self-employed, no? I'm a self-employed or voluntary member, but particularly for the self-employed, I have a business, let's say. And my range of compensation ay around, let's say, 14,000 pesos. So you would have to look kung saan po ba magpo-fall yung 14,000 pesos mo. Nasa ang range of compensation, and then may corresponding po yan na employees compensation for our self-employed members, no, because you are also assured with regard to your EC benefit. So you would have to look for that particular range of compensation at tignan lang po kung magkano yung magiging contribution ninyo at the end of the day, no, based on this table, okay? So it depends. So the amount of contribution, it depends upon your monthly salary credit, which you can find here in the range of compensation. So, kailangan po ay tignan maigi yan. So, you would know, you would be able to determine kung magkano po ba yung dapat na SSS contribution ninyo. So, this one naman ay para po sa mga voluntary members natin and non-working spouse. Some of you might ask, Ma'am, bakit po yung iba walang mandatory provident fund. Nakikita ko po sa table na ito ngayon, no? Walang mandatory provident fund na amount. Yung iba meron. So yung mandatory provident fund po natin, that's the WISP or the Workers Investment and Savings Program. So hindi ko po ito i-discuss because later, for our third topic, our speaker will discuss that one. So ngayon, kung may mga katanungan kayo about it, i-park po muna natin yan and you can wait for the third topic for our Provident Fund Program or the WISP, okay? So, but what we're trying to say here, some of the voluntary members, depending upon their particular monthly salary credit, no, in the range of compensation, may iba na merong mandatory Provident Fund Program, may iba naman, okay, may iba naman na wala. So, titignan mo yan kung saan po ba naka-correspond ang iyong range of compensation or the monthly salary credit. Okay? And then this one naman po ay para sa ating mga OFWs. So, if you have family members na considered as OFW, they can check the particular amount of their contribution based on this contribution schedule. Ngayon naman po ay dadako tayo sa topic na ano ba yung mga rules, no? Is there a rule? That's number one. Are there rules as to the change of monthly salary credit for the self-employed and voluntary members? And how do we do that? For the self-employed members, we need to remember that those who are below 55 years old, sa mga nandito po na 1,301 attendees natin, wow, dumadami po tayo, no? So those who are below 55 years old, they shall be allowed to change his or her monthly salary credit without limit in frequency and in number of salary brackets in a given calendar year. But take note, it shall be in no case, no, shall it be lower than the prevailing minimum monthly salary credit for the self-employed member. So if you are below 55 years old, you will be allowed without limit to change in the number of frequency as well as in the number of salary brackets na gusto po ninyong gawing contribution, no, kay SSS. Meanwhile, a self-employed member who is 55 years old and above, that should be a self-employed member who is 55 years old and above, shall be allowed to increase his or her monthly salary credit only once. So kapag kayo ay 55 years old na, only once na lang po kayo papayagan mag-increase in a given calendar year and by one salary bracket from the last posted monthly salary credit. So kung ngayon ay hindi pa kayo 55 years old na mga self-employed members, so you can already increase it without limit. But if you're already 55 years old, once in a given calendar year na lang po tayo pwedeng mag-increase ng ating monthly salary credit. Meanwhile, no, for the voluntary members, those who are below 55 years old shall also be allowed to change their monthly salary credit without limit in frequency and in number of salary brackets in a given calendar year, but in no case shall it be lower than the prevailing minimum monthly salary credit for a voluntary member. And to those naman po na 55 years old and above, no, take note of that particular number, 55. If you're above 55 years old, already 55 and above, you shall only be allowed to increase your monthly salary credit once in a given calendar year and by one salary bracket only from the last posted monthly salary credit except for the following cases. Ano-ano ito? First, in case of a change in his or her membership type from employee or self-employed to voluntary member for the first time. So let's say, ikaw ay 56 years old na, dati kang employed, at biglang retire. Early retirement ako kay company ABC, 56. And now, kahit ikaw ay retired na, parang you felt the need, no? Na you wanted to continue your contribution. You want to continue your contributions kay SSS. So now, as a voluntary member already, dahil dati employed ka, ngayon, voluntary member ka na kung magbabayad ka. And this is your first time to pay as a voluntary member. So since it's your first time, even though you're above 55 years old, you will be allowed to increase your monthly salary credit without limit. Okay? So yun yung mga exemption natin as to the ruling na 55 years old and above. Hope klaro po yan. And then second, in case of a higher maximum monthly salary credit under a new applicable schedule of contributions, kung kunwari tayo ay ang SSS ay maglabas ng panibagong schedule of contributions, so the member, the voluntary member, even if they're already above 55, they shall be allowed to increase their monthly salary credit up to the new maximum monthly salary credit provided, take note, provided that his or her last posted monthly salary credit corresponds to the new maximum monthly salary credit under the immediately preceding schedule of contributions. Okay? So yan po ang ruling natin, particularly with regard to having a new contribution schedule of contributions. Okay? And lastly, no limit shall be imposed in the case of decrease in monthly salary credit as to the voluntary member, but in no case shall it be lower than the prevailing minimum monthly salary credit. So even if you're above 55 years old, you wanted to lower down or to decrease your monthly salary credit, you will be allowed to do so, but syempre, not lower than the prevailing minimum monthly salary credit already. And now we proceed to the next part on the generation of the payment reference number. So kanina, diniscuss natin no, as a recap, we first defined ano ba yung mga self-employed, sino-sino ba ang covered dito, followed by sa mga voluntary members. No, ngayon, alam nyo na kung kayo ay self-employed or voluntary. Then we saw yung contribution schedule, magkano ba yung dapat ko nababayaran, as well as we have discussed yung rules in changing your monthly salary credit na may factor pala yung age na 55. If I'm below 55 or I'm above 55, there are rulings as to the monthly salary credit changing no, in SSS. At ngayon na alam na natin kung magkano ang dapat nating contribution at kung anong type of membership tayo kay SSS, ready na tayo magbayad ng ating contributions. Ang number one na pinakakailangan po every time we make our contributions in SSS is the payment reference number. Why? The payment reference number, syempre that would be your reference also, no? With the using the term itself, payment reference number, that's your reference number na pwede nyo pong gamitin every time na kayo po ay magpa-follow up, may concern kayo particularly on this transaction. Now, you can look at this payment reference number and most importantly, this will serve as your official receipt, this payment reference number. So number one na pinakakailangan natin every time we make our contribution payments is this payment reference number which you would have to generate. So ma'am, how do we generate this payment reference number? Participants, now there are different ways on how you can generate your payment reference number. At number one na dyan ay through the website, particularly your my.sss account. So all you have to do is to go to the SSS website at www.sss.gov.ph, and we're pretty sure that majority or 90% of you here ay talagang binibisita ang ating website, no? Regularly, baka iba, in a day, napakadaming beses na pupunta sa ating website. So thank you for visiting the website. We hope that you appreciate the different features. And maganda po talaga ito, lalo na ngayong panahon ng pandemic. Let us do our transactions via the online platform. No need to go to the branch because SSS has really invested its time and its efforts to make the online platform really accessible to our members para 24/7 kung kailangan ninyo mag-avail ng iba't ibang benefits and programs ni SSS, no need to go out of your homes, at the convenience of your homes actually, and at your fingertips, you get to transact with us already via the online platform. So una na nga dyan, paano tayo mag-generate ng PRN is through your my.sss account, which you can access through the website of SSS. Actually, we have this second address, how do you call it? Yung pinaka-address ng enhanced SSS website natin. validated because this one, no, in the earlier slide, the www.sss.gov.ph, that leads you to another homepage. But we also have this enhanced SSS website. At yan po ay mapupuntahan ninyo sa portal.sss.gov.ph. So once you're already in the homepage, all you have to do is to key in your login credentials, now for your my.sss, your user ID as well as password, then click on sign in button. So once you're already inside your account, all you have to do is to go to the payment reference number PRN contributions tab, and under that one particularly select. Okay, there. And under that one, particularly select the generate PRN kasi yan ang nais natin gawin, no? To generate your payment reference number. So click on that one. Then supply all the required information. So pipili tayo ng ating membership type, ng applicable period. Ano po ba yung mga months, kung quarterly kayo nagbabayad, ano-ano ba yung buwan na iyon na nais ninyong bayaran for this particular payment reference number. So mamimili po kayo dyan. Drop-down menu po yan, kaya madali lang po piliin yung mga buwan na nais ninyong bayaran. And then you indicate the amount of your contribution. Ma'am, bakit may contribution ka na, may total amount ka pa dito? Kasi some of the voluntary members, no, they opt to pay quarterly. So kung ang applicable period nila dyan, let's say April 2022 to June 2022, yun po ang maaaring bayaran, no, up until, well, today, no, the last day of July. So ngayon po, pipiliin nila yun April to June. Then the amount of contribution for a particular month. So yun yung specific contribution for that month. And then for the total amount, you multiply that by 3 months. No? Kasi kung quarterly ang nais ninyong bayaran. So once you have supplied all the information, you may click on submit request. If ever nagkamali lang kayo ng punta at hindi kayo dapat mag-generate ng PRN, then click on the cancel request button. There, as you can see, no, sa ilalim na bahagi. Okay? But happy path. We want to generate the PRN, so click on the submit request. But just to further elaborate as to the membership type, no, we go to this particular next slide. All right. So we go to the particular next slide natin. All you have to do is to click on the voluntary type. But as to this one, no, once you have generated or submitted all the required information, congratulations, you will now see this. The payment reference number, which as I've mentioned a while ago, which will serve as your official receipt. This one, no? This is your official receipt when validated. So kailangan niyo po yan bago po kayo magbayad ng inyong kon for this presentation, personal details here, okay? Pero in reality, hindi po yan blurred, so meron pong nakasulat talaga dyan. Alright, pero dito lang po for data privacy, we have masked, no, the personal details for this particular PRN copy natin, okay? So second way on how you can generate your PRN is using your mobile application. So we hope that by today, no, by now, you have already downloaded the SSS mobile application. Maganda rin po talaga ito besides having your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Grab applications. Might as well download your SSS mobile application, which you can download for free. Libre po ito, no? From Google Play, Apple App Store, and Huawei App Gallery. So napakaganda po nito. In one click, using your mobile application, your cell phones, nakasama naman natin parati, hawak-hawak natin yung cell phones, you can do a lot of transactions with SSS and view your records as well. So maganda po na may mobile application tayo. But take note, prerequisite na meron po tayong my.sss, kasi yung login credentials niyo po sa my.sss, yan po ang gagamitin ninyo na login credentials sa inyong SSS mobile application. So how do we generate our PRN using this mobile application? Step number 1, to step-by-step natin gagawin. So syempre, you log in your credentials and then open your account sa mobile application. And then you click this, the generate PRN, the one encircled in red. That's for step number 1. Then once you have clicked on that one, for step number 2, you will see this particular page, okay, on the right side of your screens right now. So all you have to do is to click on create. Okay, create muna, wag yung pay button kasi wala pa pong amount dito sa nakikita ninyo, no? So just click on the create button, this one, the one with the red arrow. Then for step number 3, supply all the information that will be asked, no? Kagaya sa my.sss kanina, you select your membership type, yung applicable period, the amount of your contribution, as well as the total amount. Then click on the submit button. So just to further elaborate, as mentioned also a while ago, for your membership type, dito po, mamimili kayo. Kayo ba ay voluntary member or OFWs? You are to select one type only, okay? And then for step number 4, once you have supplied everything, your applicable period, your membership type, as well as the amount of contribution. Once you're sure of it already, then click on the submit button. Otherwise, click on cancel if you don't wish to proceed with your generation of the PRN. But if you're okay, happy pa, click on the submit button. Then for step number 5, makikita niyo na po itong screen na ito. Nandiyan yung parang nakuha namin, na-capture namin the details from what you have supplied from us in the earlier step number, okay? So, i-check niyo po kung parehas. And if in order and accurate, click on the OK button, this one, the one encircled in red. Then you will see this PRN already for your step number 6. So kindly review all the details, double check, triple check, quadruple check, no? Pangalan nyo ba yan, etc. Then for step number 7, once you have generated your PRN, no, nakita nyo na yung PRN ninyo, para magtuloy-tuloy or mag-proceed ang inyong pagsisettle ng SSS contributions, all you have to do is to click on the pay button. So, i-click nyo po itong pay button natin. Then, you will be further directed to step number 8. At yan po ay ipapakita sa inyong iba't ibang payment methods on how you can settle your contribution payment. So you can pay with PayMaya, but take note, there's a convenience fee of 10 peso because you will be using that particular application. At pwede rin po through GCash, no? Madami sa atin ngayon na may mga GCash na, lalo ngayong panahon ng pandemic, we settle our bills using the GCash. So you may also use that. Or if you would want to settle it using the credit card and the debit card, so may mga katumbas lang po na convenience fee yan. Take note, no? And it doesn't go to SSS or it doesn't go to your SSS contributions. The convenience fee, hindi po yan pumupunta sa atin. It stays with those particular applications because you use their services, okay? Or if you would want to settle with the BPI account, pwede rin po. So the decision, we leave it to you, our members. So there are different ways on how you can settle your contribution payments with SSS using the SSS mobile application. All right. So for the third way on how you can generate, so una, my.sss, second, SSS mobile application. The third way is through text SSS, okay? So besides getting your information through this particular facility natin, the text SSS, you may also generate your PRN using this one. But that's the first step rather. Kailangan nyo muna mag-register dito. Hindi ka agad-agad makaka-request kayo. You need to register first. And how would you do that? So following the format, flash on your screens right now. So you type in SSS space reg, then your SS number, then your birthday, and then you are to send this to 2600. Upon successful registration, you will receive a personal identification number which will serve as your forever PIN with SSS, and you will be using this whenever you do text inquiries with SSS using the text SSS facility. So please be reminded or please be advised that there's a service fee of 2 peso and 50 centavos for Globe and Smart subscribers and 2 peso for Sun Cellular subscribers. Hindi po gumagana ang unlimited texting sa atin. So once you have registered participants, you may now ask or generate your PRN. No? Paano po gagawin iyon? Using this format, you can inquire on your PRN. Just key in SSS space PRN, then your SS number, then your PIN, the PIN that was initially issued to you. That's your forever PIN, as I've mentioned a while ago. So you key in your PIN followed by your birthday, and then you send this to 2600. So that's the third way on how you can generate your PRN. Then for the fourth step, you may also send us an email at prnhelpline@sss.gov.ph. So ito naman po kung hindi po applicable sa inyo ang my.sss pag-generate ng PRN or mobile application or text SSS, pwede po kayo magpadala ng email dito sa email address na ito, exclusively, no, na nakatuon sa PRN concern. So, pwede po ito, PRN helpline at sss.gov.ph. And, kung gusto niyo naman po na may kausap kayo, gusto niyong tanungin mismo sa aming personnel through phone or over the phone, so you may call our SS hotline at 81455. So before moving on to the next module, no, as you have seen, participants, there are different ways on how you can generate your PRN. SSS application or the my.sss man yan, mobile application, you can text us, you can email us, or you can call us. So there are different ways. Ano yung pinakamaganda? It depends on your situation. Kahit ano po pwede yan. Basta at the end of the day, isa naman po ang result. It's for you to generate the PRN, which you will be needing to make or settle your SSS contributions. And then now, when is the best time for you to pay your contributions? So for the information of everybody, for the self-employed and voluntary and non-working spouse, it shall be made on the last day of the month following the applicable month or calendar quarter. So ngayon po, sa July ngayon, ang pwede pang bayaran na quarter ay April, May, June contributions. Pwede pa up until today. Okay? So for our OFW members naman, for your January to September contributions, you can settle this until December 31 of the applicable year. Meanwhile, for your contributions for October to December, and of the following year. And as to the different payment channels on where you can pay your contributions, I think this is the last part also of this presentation. Where can you make your contributions? So ngayon po, no, ito po yung updated facilities natin on where you can settle or make your SS contributions. So you can do that for our individual members. You can do that via over-the-counter or through over-the-counter. So ano yung mga banks natin dyan? AUB or the Asia United Bank. I hope this particular image is readable on your end. So Bank of Commerce, kung yan po ang bangko ninyo. Bank One Savings Bank, East West Rural Bank, Partner Rural Bank, Philippine Business Bank, Philippine National Bank or the PNB, RCBC Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, Robinsons Bank Corporation, RBC, Rural Bank of Lanuza, Union Bank of the Philippines, United Coconut Planters Bank also, pwede yan. If you will be settling your contributions as an individual member. So besides the bank, we also have our partner bank's website and mobile application. So RBC, SBC, SBOL, UBP, kung meron kayong mga through the website niyan, pwede rin po. As well as our non-bank collecting partners. Over-the-counter such as the Bayad Center, the electronic commerce payments or ECPay, as well as sa mga SM payment facilities natin, no? Pwede rin nyo po gawin ang mga contributions, but you have to present the PRN, kaya very important na before going to this particular places, no, kung saan kayo pwede magbayad ng contributions, you need to secure or generate the PRN first. Then, we also have our collecting partners, the AltPayNet, the CIS Bayad Center, Inc., no? So, pwede rin po dyan. And through the mobile application of your GCash, PayMaya or Maya, and ganyan po pinakabago natin, ang Shopee Pay. So, kung may Shopee Pay account kayo, pwede nyo na po gawin yan, no? So, I stand corrected, that's not PayMaya, but Maya only. And for the Shopee Pay, yan ang newest addition natin dito sa family of how you can settle your accounts or where. So kung may Shopee Pay account kayo, pwede nyo na rin po i-settle ang inyong SS contributions as an individual member po. All right. Then for our land-based OFW members abroad, you also have the over-the-counter partner banks and non-bank collecting partners. And ng mga nasa local naman po, you can do that over-the-counter as well through the different partner banks shown or listed on this particular pub mat natin on the screen. And you can do that through non-bank collecting partners and syempre po through our SSS branches as well na may mga tellering counter. Okay, so other facilities po through the mobile application and through collecting partners website. So napakadami po ng mga facilities on how you can make your SS contribution. So kung ano po yung pinaka-convenient sa inyo at applicable sa inyo, okay lang po yan. Basta make sure that you have the PRN before going or settling your contributions. And kung kayo naman po na nasa onboard na ito, onboard this Eskwela webinar, ay baka po ma'am, napadaan lang ako dito, yung kamag-anak ko talaga yung voluntary, kaya nakikinig ako, but I'm also interested to know how I can settle my SS contribution. So for all types of payers, for hassle-free transactions, you may enroll in the auto-debit arrangement with our partner bank. So we have the BPI, CBB, First Consolidated Bank, the Metro Bank, and the PNB. So napakalawak na po. No, this is the updated list. Don't worry, you'll get a copy of this material para you can share and spread the word to your family members and colleagues.